particular point in the pastime, Srila Prabhupada expresses how Bali Maharaj, let's see, Bali Maharaj at this point, he is deliberating the instructions of his guru. And why is he deliberating the instruction of his guru? Because Bali Maharaj gave this promise to the Brahmin boy. And one thing that Bali Maharaj possessed was a great affinity towards personalities greater than himself, namely Brahmanas, those who took on that service as Brahmanas. And so he gave this promise, and he was very, how could we say, he was exemplary in his integrity. And of course, Shukracharya, he felt indebted to him because, of course, we know the pastime when the demons and demigods were engaged in the churning of the nectar, and Bali Maharaj was brought back to life by Shukracharya. And so he felt indebted. And so, but at the same time, we understand that, and as Srila Prabhupada expressed in the purport, Bhagavatam 5:18, one should not become a guru if he cannot enable his disciples to advance in Krishna consciousness. And so that is a qualification of guru. And of course, Srila Rupa Goswami expressed that, of course, in the Upadeshamrita, that a sober person that can tolerate the urges to speak, the mind's demands, the urges of the belly, tongue, and the genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. It's a very simple understanding. Of course, in Sanatan Goswami, he goes into more elaborate detail in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. He says that a true spiritual master is an ocean of mercy, who is fulfilled in all respects, who has all good quality, who works for the benefit of all souls, who is free from lust, who is perfect in all respects, who is well versed in the scriptures, who knows the science of Krishna, who can remove all doubt of the disciple, and who is always alert in the service of Krishna, is known as a genuine guru. And then, of course, Srila Prabhupada expresses that his knowledge is perfect of the Vedic injunctions, and by having that knowledge, he has become a perfect devotee. 2 points. There are 2 points in which are seen. Then he is a spiritual master. And of course, Srila Prabhupada giving this example of the Saragrahi devotee that he is. He takes so many different instructions and breaks it down into a simplistic manner so it's digestible and understandable even for a child. That is one of the qualities of a great soul, namely an expert spiritual master. They're able to take complicated subject matter and break it down so that all of us can actually understand and comprehend. And so, as he said, one is perfect, his knowledge is perfect according to the Vedic injunction. And so what is the Vedic injunction that's given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? And of course, he says that, oh, son of Kuti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer, do this. And all that you give away, that's the most important point in this particular case of Bali Maharaj, as well as all austerities that you perform should be done as an offering to me. And so therefore, one is supposed to offer everything to Krishna. And so he understands that Bali Maharaj understands that the Vamana before him is Krishna. And so therefore, he should actually offer everything. And on top of the fact that we spoke about, Bali Maharaj being such a person of integrity, and of course his affinity towards Brahmins. And one thing that Bali Maharaj expresses his duties as a householder, and then also being integrity in terms of speaking the truth. And we know that, this is the last leg of religion in this age of Kali Yuga, truthfulness. And this is something that is, unfortunately, extremely rare. There was a book written by Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and in that book, it's called The Leadership for Age of Higher Consciousness, Volume 2. And in this book, he cites a statistic that was taken, and of course, this was taken quite some time ago, maybe 20, 25 years ago. And he cites this statistic indicating how many people actually lie during the course of the day. It's like something like 69% of people lie to their spouse, 70% lie to their, siblings and friends. And then it got to the point where it said over 90% of people lie on a daily basis. And this is something is, extremely rare in the age of Kali Yuga, to actually be truthful, to tell the truth. And so Bali Maharaj was exemplary in this particular regard. And so in each and every day, what is the lie that we tell ourselves? That's one thing that we can actually deliberate on, like Bali Maharaj in this particular point of the pastime. What lie do we actually tell ourselves? What lie or lies do we tell ourselves? And one lie, I was just thinking about that we tell ourselves is that we wake up in the morning, we look in the mirror, and what's that I forgot the name of that, it was a play, Who's the Fairest of the Land? Is one of the statements in that play. We look in the mirror, who's the fairest of the land? That's the lie we tell ourselves, that one, that we are the most beautiful, and two, that we are the actual body. That's the greatest lie that we actually can tell ourselves. And so the spiritual master comes. We have the Chaitya Guru, the Lord in the heart. And then because of the desire and the causeless mercy of the Lord, Chaitya Guru manifests externally to actually help us to actually break free from this particular lie that we actually tell ourselves. Such a basic principle. And, this is something that Srila Prabhupada gave in practically every particular lecture that he spoke in. He just spoke this one simple, basic truth. And sometimes we hear, oh, that's so basic. There's so much more to understanding. At the same time, if we can actually realize this particular point, that we are not this particular body, then that is the beginning of the peace formula on the planet. So many of the different problems that are taking place on the earth today are caused because we actually consider ourselves to be the physical body, telling that basic lie to ourselves. And so, as we said, Krishna gives the Vedic injunction that all that you give away should be done as an offering to me. And so everything that we do is done for the pleasure of the Lord. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur expresses that, everything that's favorable to the devotional service should be accepted. And so I remember when I first came to the Institute in Washington, D.C. with His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. And I was listening to a lecture. It was one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers. And he was speaking about one day he was serving prasadam. And one of the persons there, one of the devotees, initiated devotees, he was fasting that day. And so Maharaj was actually serving out the prasadam. And I always remember this because he said he was serving the prasadam and he came to this devotee and the devotee said, no, it's okay, I'm fasting today. And Maharaj said, Sridhar Maharaj said, you're fasting? And he said, yes. He said, what is the purpose of your fast? He said, to please Krishna. He said, well, and to actually receive Krishna. He said, well, Krishna is manifesting before you in the form of Mahaprasad and you're refusing? What is this? And so I always remember that. Oh, and because I was so big on fasting, so big on fasting and into the actual, health considerations and concerns. Now it's quite difficult for me to fast. But anyway, I always remember that particular point. And so Shukracharya, it's also explained by the Vaishnavacharyas that he represents this concept of the, giving false instructions or being the false guru. And then we also find that, in Krishna Lila, Krishna actually annihilates the demons. And one of those demons was the first demon, and that was Putana, which represents this person that is a false guru. And so even though the Vedic injunctions express that it's forbidden to actually reject the spiritual master, there are some areas in which it is bona fide to actually reject the spiritual master. And I'll just go through some of these and then we'll allow Vraja Lila to speak about the glories of Bali Maharaj. And in Narada Pancharatra 110:20, one can reject a person that is arrogant and proud. 2, does not know what to do or not to do, or gives improper guidance. 3, teachings are inconsistent against the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam and Gaudiya Vaishnava scriptures. 4, has deviated from the path laid out in the Bhakti Shastras. Then the Bhakti Sandarbha is envious and antagonistic towards other Vaishnavas, does not encourage devotees to take shelter or sadhu sangha. Bhakti Sandarbha, again, not satisfied with, this is a pretty interesting one, not satisfied with Guru Bhakti, with the Guru. That's pretty interesting. However, Rupa Goswami also elaborates this particular point to reject the Guru is a very, very serious matter. And one should do like Bali Maharaj, deliberate very deeply, should take shelter of other sadhus to get understanding and feedback, should not take this particular action very lightly. 7 is qualified due to poor shastric, unqualified due to poor shastric knowledge. And let's see, Krishna Bhavatamrita, he says, is ignorant about the position of Krishna and has misconceptions about the truth. 9, does not accept Krishna's pastimes and imitates Krishna. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he speaks about it in the Harinam Chintamani and the Jaiva Dharma. And he says, one who opposes Vaishnava philosophy and practice and was prematurely accepted without careful examination. So these are some of the aspects in which, one is able to reject the false guru. But one thing that, again, is very important in this particular pastime is that we think about the qualifications of guru, and they are essential and extremely important. But one point that's another point that's really important is the question, what type of disciple are we? What type of disciple are we? The qualifications of a disciple. And so there are also qualifications of the disciple. And Bhagavatam 11th canto is expressed that the servant or disciple of a spiritual master is free from false prestige, never considering himself the doer. He shouldn't be active and never lazy. There are other aspects of the qualified disciple in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, again by Sanatana Goswami. But the main thing is that one is sincere in following the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti under the qualified spiritual master and willing to, as expressed in Bhagavad Gita, Tatvidi Padipatena, to actually approach the spiritual master, take these bona fide instructions as their life and soul, and then serve this spiritual master. Serve the spiritual master. And then, of course, in the Bhakti, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he expresses in the last verse of Sri Guru Vastakam, that by the mercy, Yasha Prasadam Bhagavat Prasado, by the mercy of Guru, one receives Krishna, by the mercy of Krishna, one receives a bona fide spiritual master. So our sincerity is imperative. How sincere are we? Because if we are not sincere, then we will be presented with every opportunity to actually facilitate that insincerity. And at the same time, when Krishna, he is most merciful. If we are actually sincere in our endeavors in engaging in devotional service, in serving the Vaishnavas, in chanting the holy names, then Krishna will manifest in front of us in the form of the spiritual master who is willing to carry us over this ocean of material suffering and misery. So that leads up to the point of these glory of Bali Maharaj. And so.
Wow, thank you, Ekavira. That was, we have a system when we give class together. We kind of prepare, and then we come together and we talk about, okay, I'll talk about this, I'll talk about that. And then somewhere in between all that, I learned so many more things that Ekavira had in somewhere that wasn't in our preparation. And I'm just so grateful because, it's so nice to hear how he has so much deep understanding about this principle of guru. I'm very, very appreciative. It's very inspiring for me because this theme of understanding guru, what's a bona fide guru, what's a bogus guru, it's relevant to us in our institution of Krishna consciousness. And so I want to just kind of go back a little bit to this theme of deliberation, because Prabhupada in this purport and actually in the translation, this theme of how a disciple deliberate on the instruction of the guru is emphasized at least 3 or 4 times. Prabhupada mentions, he took time, he deliberated, it's like he got this instruction. However, it wasn't that he just said, no, I'm not acting on it, or, okay, great, I'm just gonna do it. No, he really took time with that. And so as a disciple, understanding, what it means when we get instructions from the guru, and when we don't take time to introspect and internalize on what the guru's instruction may be, then sometimes we can miss the whole point of the instruction. And so I wanted to share a story of Guru Das, one of the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And he was sharing when Prabhupada came to San Francisco, and how, excited everyone was, of course, because they'd heard so much, about Prabhupada in New York and all the wonderful things that Srila Prabhupada was doing, and how devoted the disciples had become, the devotees to Srila Prabhupada in San Francisco. In New York. And so some of these devotees were coming to San Francisco. So everybody was excited. It was like a whole celebration. And, it was just like some big, festival. Of course, they were doing a festival. And so Guru Das, he remembers, he shares how Yamuna Devi, who is one of my mentors, she approached him and said they needed to get married. And so he was kind of a little bit like kind of shocked, like married? Like, what do you mean? Of course, this is in the 60s, right? And so Yamuna said, well, the Swami said that, we can't just be together like we are or live together, that we should get married. The Swami says that, those persons that are associating with each other in an intimate way, they need to get married. So Guru Das thought, he said, okay, all right, then yeah, okay, we'll get married. He said at the time when he said that, he just said it, okay, we'll get married. Then he didn't really take the time to deliberate on what that meant. And so then they went to Srila Prabhupada and shared with Srila Prabhupada that they wanted to get married. Of course, he's doing this because Yamuna is asking him to do this. And Prabhupada then said, okay, you want to get married? Okay, this is beautiful. However, you need to get initiated first. And so then Guru Das was like, initiated? Well, what? He wasn't bargaining for that. He didn't even know what initiation was. And so he kind of like said to Prabhupada, well, I don't know about initiation. And he said, well, when do you think that we would do this? And Prabhupada said, tomorrow. So he's asking Prabhupada. And so then Guru Das, and here's the point. Guru Das said to Prabhupada, okay, however, he confided in this book, in this sharing that he gave to us, that at that point, he really didn't know if he wanted to do that. He didn't know. And so he became internal. He became introspective. And so then what did he do? He went to his friends that he had been associating with before Prabhupada came to San Francisco. And some of those friends, a couple of them were Christians and a couple of them were, involved Buddhist, different paths, right? It was like he had interfaith kind of friends. And so he said that his Christian friends, he shared with them, man, I'm supposed to take these vows. I'm not sure about this. And, I'm supposed to be tomorrow. And so his Christian friends was saying to him, well, from what I could see from what you guys are doing, man, you guys are worshiping idols. And so, he was kind of like thinking, oh, so this was what the conversation that was going on with his Christian friends. And of course, his Buddhist friends was like, they just weren't so supportive of him taking initiation. And then he realized, as he was introspecting, deliberating on this instruction from the spiritual master, he realized that he had two choices. One, he could go back and get initiated, or two, he could stay with his friends and be in that kind of association where everybody had a different point of view and everybody was not, they were not really supporting each other in understanding the essence of God consciousness at that particular time. That was in the 60s. Of course, things have changed so much since then. And of course, when people come together, understanding the importance of God being, there for everyone, when people understand that there's one God, then people do come together in more harmonious relationship. At that time, though, his friends was kind of, they were attached to him. So they didn't want him to go and get involved in something that would take him away. So he went back and then he said to Srila Prabhupada that, okay, he wanted to take initiation. So it wasn't that he just said, get initiated. And he was just like, yeah, all gung ho, yeah, initiation, wonderful. It wasn't like that. He took the time to really explore within himself and with others what that would mean for him to take initiation. So then after they set up the initiation, then Srila Prabhupada said they did the initiation, and then Srila Prabhupada called him and said, okay, so tomorrow you get married. Tomorrow. So everything happened within like one day. And so here was Guru Das again, like he said, I know I told Yamuna I would marry her, but he said, but at that point, because he had taken those vows, there was something that was different for him. And so he didn't feel that same anxiousness within himself. in terms of him agreeing to marry Yamuna. And so they got married the next day. So that was kind of something that I thought about, that pastime. I thought about that pastime in terms of guru-disciple relationship, because so often we see disciples, and I can speak for myself, I've been one of those fanatical disciples for many years that may not have taken time to deliberate on instructions. And to not that I'm saying that in the mood of that I ever got any instruction that was not directing me in the right path. Just that if we take some time to really introspect about the instructions we receive from the guru, then that instruction has so much more meaning, and it really can define our lives in so many ways. Just like I recently, Vraja gave a class at the Bhakti at the urban Devi, and this class was all about. It was just really a visual class about pastimes of Vrindavan. She had traveled to Vrindavan, and somehow she took pictures of many of the places that she went to in Vrindavan. And so she then was able to share those pictures and also her experience of being in Vrindavan, what that was like for her. Now, for me, I saw that presentation she made on two levels. One is that she took Radhanath Swami's instruction to visit holy and sacred places in a very deep way. Because for someone to go to the holy places with an intention to take pictures to share with others, that is really understanding the mood of the spiritual master. That's understanding the instructions of the spiritual master. Because Srila Radhanath Maharaj is so dedicated to sacred holy places that this disciple understood that. And then was later, probably a year later, 2 years later, I don't know how long later, she's able to share that with others. And so in that way, she was following the instruction of her spiritual master, with perhaps him not even giving her directly that instruction. She just understood the mood of the spiritual master. So here in this pastime, Bali Maharaj understood the mood of his guru, Shukacharya. Shukacharya was a materialistic guru, not making that bad, just that's who he was. He was a materialistic guru. And so although he actually did guide Bali Maharaj in many ways to help him. Because as you know, Bali Maharaj, he defeated he defeated Indra, he defeated the demigods. So Shukacharya was not that he was, it's not that he was, I mean, here in our language, we say bad and good, right? But I don't want to classify him as bad guru. He was teaching Bali Maharaj according to Bali Maharaj's, at that time, what was important to Bali Maharaj. So my husband Ekavira Prabhu said that Bali Maharaj was indebted to Shukacharya, which is a fact. He was indebted. At the same time, Bali Maharaj had desires also, because although he was born in a family of Prahlad Maharaj, and that Prahlad Maharaj was his grandfather, and he had learned so many devotional etiquette. He had learned so much about devotional life. That was embedded in him. He had that understanding. At the same time, though, he was playing a role of being a demon, which meant that he had certain kinds of desires, which meant that he had that guru given to him because of his desires. And so what happened, though, in that pastime? What happened is that when Bali Maharaj had to make a decision, between, if you will, that our divine self and our demoniac self, which is which I say is in me. My divinity is in me, and also there's some demonic things in me. So when Bali Maharaj had to make that decision, when he deliberated to make that decision, he was able to make that decision based on the guidance that he had received from his grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj. That was what really inspired him to be able to understand his desire and his attraction to, as Ekavira said, to Brahmanas. He was able to see this little boy, boy, 5-year-old boy, dressed in brahmachari clothing. He was beautiful. Vamana Dev was beautiful. And Bali Maharaj became attracted because he could remember the instructions given by Prahlad Maharaj. So in terms of understanding this pastime, we can learn that divinity is always more powerful, because here Bali Maharaj was able to give up everything, based on the fact that he had been guided by Prahlad Maharaj, who embedded within him this divine understanding of the personality of Godhead. And so similarly, in our everyday existence of being disciples, oftentimes we may be challenged by so many things based on our conditioning and our environment. However, if we're able to reconnect with those divine instructions that are given to us by our spiritual masters, by Srila Prabhupada, by Srila Prabhupada's representatives, by so many disciples of Srila Prabhupada that give their lives, that are examples for all of us. If we can connect with that, throughout our course of the day, even if we're challenged, and I give this example all the time, if I'm challenged in any way, I think of some saintly devotee. I just think about them. I think about, I think about Brajrani, so saintly. She went to, she went on a tour, in one sense, a tour. However, for her, it was a holy place, and it became a holy place. It became a holy consciousness, right? So it could start out as a tour, but it's ended up with, it was a holy consciousness that she had to be able to do what she did to share with others. So when I think of Brajrani, I think of all those beautiful slides that she took when she was in Vrindavan. And so that can just inspire me throughout the course of my day. So I'm not saying it has to be, for us to connect with our divinity. It doesn't have to be that we have to think about some great, great, great devotee, although that's wonderful, that's beautiful. Every devotee is great in some way. And so if we can appreciate the devotees, and if we can understand the divinity in all devotees, and if we can take time and just step back within ourselves and become internal and somehow get inspiration from even the person that, appears to not be as advanced as we might think that they might be, because everyone has a divinity within them. And we see that from Bali Maharaj. Recently, my Ekavira Prabhu was sharing with me a story about this person in Australia who he had some challenges in his life, some difficulties, and he kind of like disconnected himself from the world. He was a what do you call somebody that? What do you call that?
Oceanographer.
He was an oceanographer. However, he was a tracker as an ocean, and he had become discouraged about tracking. And so in that period of discouragement and disillusion and depression, he thought that what he could possibly do is just go back under the water and dive. And so he did that, and he started diving. And as he started diving again, he came in contact with an octopus. And that octopus and him developed a relationship. That octopus became his teacher and gave him back his heart, where he could then start once again connecting with human beings. So Krishna is so kind. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Krishna is, within everything and within everyone. And if we can somehow understand that, and if we can stop putting labels on people, we can learn from every single person, and we can learn from even, the animals. And Krishna teaches us like that he is within everything. And so therefore, this pastime for me helps me to really kind of, as Ekavira said, check with myself. What kind of a disciple am I? And I know that I still have conditioning. I know that I still have demoniac tendency. So I know that I still have material desires in some ways. I know that they've been minimized because of the guidance that I've received from so many sincere, dedicated personalities in my life. And so how am I going to reflect to others this deep, deep desire to really hold on as tight as I can to the mercy that Srila Prabhupada has passed down to us? How can I do that? And how can I give that to others? And so that's what Bali Maharaj did. He taught us by his example. He said, okay, I'm giving up this, all this wealth. I'm even giving up this person that has this personality that has guided me in this way. And Shukacharya Prabhu, he also was the reason that he and I'm sure this is going on in the text as we read it, the reason that he was guiding Bali Maharaj not to accept what Vamana Dev was offering, what Brahmana Dev's proposal, and he told, Shukacharya told him, don't accept. And the reason was because Shukacharya was a materialistic guru and he wanted some of that for himself. That's one of the reasons, that he himself wanted to reap the benefit of the material life that Bali Maharaj was living. And so therefore, again, I ask myself, and I ask myself, in order that I can be a better servant, in what ways am I holding on to some materialistic desires that's just not serving me in my divinity, in who I am? That is the question that I ask myself from this pastime today. And so I want to thank you so very much for inviting us. We're very blessed, and we're very grateful, and we're very thankful. And we pray that somehow this pastime we've been able to share something of what it means to us, and how we can keep taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's representatives and be examples of that. Thank you so very much.
And we remember his Srila Prabhupada's primary instruction in the engagement of the process of devotional service. And he expressed that of all of my instructions, the most important are the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, at least 16 rounds per day. So I say that, I remember Giriraj Maharaj said, when he was with Srila Prabhupada, and he asked, Srila Prabhupada asked Giriraj Maharaj, what's my most important instruction? He said, a chanting of the holy name, 16 rounds per day. And he said, 16 rounds? I said, at least 16 rounds per day. So the ultimate goal is, of course, to chant the holy name continuously, and to encourage others to also call upon the holy names of the Lord. So thank you again, Prabhus. We really appreciate you inviting us to actually introspect today and think about our service to spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, and how we can actually go deeper in that process of devotion.
I just want to share one thing for the devotees those persons that might be new on the call. I know there are people that kind of, they may be here for the first time. Please, the chanting of 16 rounds is our standard. However, we encourage you to please chant however many rounds, whatever you can. Just connect with the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna. And in this way, you will be benefited tremendously. Even if you're not able to chant 16 rounds, that eventually will come eventually. For now, please just take shelter of the holy name and test it. See it for yourself. Try it for yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji and Prabhuji. It was such a beautiful class. Uh, Amazing points to contemplate, and really nourishes the heart to take shelter of Guru's instructions, and very helpful for my own introspection also. So thank you so much. I'm very grateful for you both sharing these amazing points. And I would like to unmute everyone. If they would like to share a comment or ask a question, they can feel free to do so.
Hare Krishna. You've covered everything perfectly. Just to emphasize, you spoke about truth and about deliberation. And deliberation can go on, like you were describing, in different ways. Some people deliberate by considering the advice of a materialistic person, and some people deliberate by saying, Krishna, Guru, Sadhu, what do you recommend? So if we just deliberate on what will be easy for us, what we like, what we don't like, depending on who you approach, that's the kind of answer you're going to get. You know, if you approach a materialistic person, they're going to give you a materialistic price. So we have to choose who we're turning to. But Krishna is so wonderful. Krishna is so wonderful that he offers us the opportunity to deliberate on the basis of what will please you, Lord. Some people don't ask Krishna. They just try to figure it out on themselves. They call that deliberation. But some people put it before the Lord. We can choose like that and say, Krishna, I'll do what, I'm not sure what to do, but I'll do what you like. And Krishna can answer us. If we don't have attachment for this answer or aversion to that answer, we will hear Krishna speak through a devotee, through a voice from the sky, through a dream, through a madman. Krishna will speak to us if we ask, and if we be careful about our attachment and our aversion. I like this answer, I don't like that answer, and then we won't be able to hear Krishna.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. You reminded me of a point in which Bhaktivinoda Thakur expressed that false guru manifests in two ways, and that's one, externally and internally. Externally in the form of one who is a hypocrite, doesn't engage in the Vedic injunctions, and it's basically hypocritical in his example. And then the other is internally, our own mind. And that's what the point that you were actually speaking about, in which we can fall into that particular trap by following our own mind as opposed to following Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. And so thank you so much, Prabhu, for bringing that point up and elaborating.
I also want to say, Adipurusha Prabhu, this verse is all about understanding proper guidance. And I can say that in terms of deliberation, you are an example of someone that a person can look to in learning about deliberation. I have known you for many, many years, from New Vrindavan for so many years, and you have been consistently steady in your desires and in your, that requires so much deliberation. So you show us by your example the choices to make. If someone can just get to know you, they will benefit deeply from your example. Thank you so much.
Hi, Krishna Mataji. I have a question which should be anonymous. So here, this devotee is asking that he's an initiated disciple, yet still struggles to chant all his 16 rounds, sometimes cannot make it, being busy with work, etc. So he's asking, what do you recommend? Because he feels also terrible not being able to fulfill the vows, at the same time unable to also. So is there any way that you can share something to help him?
Yeah, I can resonate with that so much,
Yes.
Prabhu, so much. I just want to be transparent. I have had times when I have been challenged with my rounds, seriously. I mean, you know, after you've been a devotee for 40 years plus, you do get challenged, yes. And I mean, one would think after 40 years, it just becomes like a habit. It's like a habit that you just do it. However, I can tell you there was a period when I was I felt so challenged, and I was just like praying to Krishna. Krishna, you know, it's not like I wasn't chanting, but it just was just not like chanting, because it would be like all over the place, you know, different times, 4 here, 5 there. You know, it was just kind of, I knew, because I've been to many japa retreats. I've been in the association of japa embodiments, you know, so I kind of knew what it means to really appreciate chanting. I remember when I became a devotee, and I joined in New York, actually, at the 55th Street Temple in 1979. At that time, we would get up at 2:30 in the morning, 2:30 every morning. And our rounds, most of it would have been chanted before Mangalarti, you know? So that was like my training. And so when I when my rounds became challenging for me, I was like, what is going on? What's this? And so I prayed. And so what happened is, Krishna arranged that I would get into a group on the phone with people that were chanting. And so somehow Krishna sent this to me. Somebody called me up and said, would you like to be a part of this group? We chant every morning. And I'm like, Krishna, thank you. And so I started doing that, Prabhu. And I can tell you, oh, I'm tasting the sweetness again. And I'm just so grateful. It's just so wonderful. So I'm up. And now, like, I just get up. I'm just up. I'm up because I got to get that phone, and I got to, you know, do my Zoom thing. And, you know, and I hear all these beautiful voices just chanting together. And so, yes, sometimes just be still and pray. Just be still and pray. Just ask Krishna, please send me some help. You know, I'm not happy with how I'm connecting with you. I'm not connecting with you. I need to connect with you. Please send me some help. And Krishna, he is the cause of all causes. He will send you help. You just got to don't take it, though. That's the thing. Sometimes Krishna sends us help, but we miss it, you know? So this time, though, I didn't miss it. I was like, thank you. You know, so now I have Zoom call every single morning for my japa, and so I'm grateful. Yes, so that's one example. Ekavira Prabhu probably have other examples.
I just want to reiterate that particular point, because Srinam Prabhu, the holy name, he is actually a person. And so therefore, when we try to develop this understanding that Sri Nam Prabhu is manifested, Abhinam Tvam Nama Namino, Krishna, and the name that are one and the same. Krishna is his holy name, and he's a person. And so I remember I was really, really struggling with chanting, and I knew the actual meaning of the Maha Mantra as given by Srila Prabhupada. We, pray only for devotional service. But at this point in time, the only thing I could say to the holy name, to Sri Nam Prabhu, was, please, please help me. Please help me. I need help. I'm stuck in this particular position, and I don't want to continue to be stuck in this position. Please help me. I have no taste for chanting. I need help. And then we went to, we were in Govardhan. That same day was Prabhupada's disappearance during Kartik one year at Govardhan. And we went to Srila Prabhupada's ashram, and Vaisheshika Prabhu was actually speaking. And he was talking. I said, I don't know if I should approach you in this particular way, Sri Nam Prabhu. And during this particular time, Vaisheshika Prabhu was speaking. He said, holy name is a person. And one of the meanings of the Maha Mantra is, help me, please help me. And I said, this is confirmation. Thank you so much. So one particular point we talked about is the qualification of the disciple is, and be sincere. Just try to be sincere. And one means of being sincere is praying to the holy name and associating with those who are sincere. So
Yeah. And listen, listen to others chanting, like, yeah, if you listen to Srila Prabhupada chanting, you listen to His Holiness Ranat Swami chanting, you listen to, I have a tape of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and Prabhupada. They're both chanting. So Prabhupada is chanting and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is chanting at some point, so Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj comes in and then Prabhupada comes in. And so I have this tape. Malati actually requested a devotee to make this tape. And so this tape is, Malati Prabhu, this tape is available. And I'm guessing you can make a tape like that with your spiritual master and Prabhupada, and listen to their voices, and their voices will really help. It will help you, will connect with you in the heart. Yeah.
And Satyanandana Maharaj expressed also that in our corners in the home where no one else is around, if we want to develop more taste for chanting the holy names, sing the holy names. Just sing the holy names.
Yeah.
And I know one thing about Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, when he used to chant, he actually used to chant japa, but if you hear him, it's like he's singing the holy name.
Also, there's a book there. Right there underneath. I just want to show you over there, right under the Bhagavatam, right under the Bhagavatam. Yeah. So also one of the other techniques that I use in the mornings is every day before I chant, this is called Namamrita. I just open it, da-da-da, and there's always something in it that, okay, I have a Bhagavad Gita that's kind of, and so there's something that I'm going to read that's going to get me inspired for chanting. So I do that. I just open it and it's something short that I'm going to read. It's all quotes about the holy name, Namamrita, the nectar of the holy name. There's so many beautiful books. Satyananda Maharaj has a book. There's many beautiful books that inspire us in chanting. Because on our own, you see, this is the story that we're reading today. On our own, we cannot do this. On our own, we cannot do this. We need the mercy and we need the guidance and we need the grace of the spiritual teachers. Haribol.